The Sikh Wars are a little-known conflict between the British in India and the Sikh Empire. The British were determined to become the ruling power in India. To achieve this, they needed to go up against the expansion of the powerful Punjab kingdom of the Sikhs. The result was the end of the Sikh Empire and the expansion of British rule, which led to the infamous British Raj. Keep watching as we discover the intricacies of this significant shift in the history of both countries. In total, there were two separate campaigns in the Sikh Wars, also known as the Sikh-Anglo Wars. The first was in 1845, but to get to this conflict, we first have to look at a little bit of Sikh history. The Sikh religion is one of the youngest world religions, having only been established around 1500. Its founder, Guru Nanak, lived in Punjab, and after a spiritual revelation, declared there is no Hindu and no Muslim, and began recruiting followers from both religions. Guru Nanak's teachings include preaching that anyone can have direct access to God without the need for rituals or priests, and that everyone is equal regardless of caste or gender. The Sikh religion was born with the word Sikh coming from the Sanskrit word Sisya, meaning seeker, disciple, or student. The religion grew, and in 1801, the Sikh kingdom of Punjab was established by Ranjit Singh. Ranjit Singh was born in 1780, and at the age of 12, he succeeded his father as the chief of the Sukar Chakiyas. At 15, he married the daughter of a chieftain in the Kanhayas. Then, he secured a second marriage to a girl of the Nikkei, increasing his importance in the Sikh Confederacy. By the summer of 1799, he had seized the city of Lahore in modern-day Pakistan and was confirmed as the city's governor by the Afghan king Zaman Shah. In 1801, Ranjit Singh proclaimed himself Maharaja of Punjab and began to administer the state in the name of the Sikh Commonwealth. In 1802, he began to expand the kingdom, capturing Amritsar and subduing several other Sikh and Pashtun principalities in Punjab. As the Sikh kingdom expanded, so did the British interest in India. In 1806, Ranjit Singh's ambitions were checked by the British. In 1809, he was compelled to sign the Treaty of Amritsar, which stopped him from uniting all the Sikh territories and fixed the eastern boundary of his lands at the Sutlej River. But the British didn't completely curb his aspirations, and he turned his attention to Kangra in the Lesser Himalayas. In 1809, after aiding Raja Sansar Chand in defeating a Gurkha force, he took Kangra for himself. Then, in 1813, he joined a Barakzai Afghan expedition into Kashmir. Although the Barakzais kept Kashmir for themselves, Ranjit Singh was able to rescue the brother of the deposed Afghan king Shah Shuja, and thereby acquire the famous Koh-i-Noor diamond. By 1820, various campaigns resulted in his consolidated rule over all of Punjab. Ranjit Singh's army was made up of Sikhs, Muslims, and Hindus. He drew commanders and cabinet ministers from many different religious communities, modernizing his army in 1820 with the addition of European officers who were brought in to train the infantry and military. Because of this, he was able to repel Afghan counterattacks and tribal uprisings successfully. In the fall of 1831, Ranjit Singh clashed with British officials over the rule of the Sindh province. However, the British ultimately convinced Singh to accept British rule in the region. After this, he began negotiating with the Afghans and was able to extend his territories until Ladakh in 1834. In 1838, Ranjit Singh entered a treaty with the British Viceroy, Lord Auckland, and restored Shah Shuja to the Afghan throne in Kabul. But everything changed in 1839 when Ranjit Singh died. The government that Ranjit Singh had established fell into disarray, and there was a series of revolutions and assassinations as various factions vied for power. In 1843, Ranjit Singh's youngest son, Duleep Singh, was installed as ruler, and his mother, Maharani Jin Kaur, acted as queen regent. However, the true power lay with the army that military committees, called Panks, commanded. The Sikh Army was known as the Pure, or the Khalsa. It was well organized and, for the most part, well disciplined, with the artillery being of an exceptionally high standard. While the army was made up of multiple denominations, the majority were Sikhs who viewed themselves as the defenders of the Sikh nation and religion. The political unrest, combined with the power of the army, undermined the uneasy alliance that Ranjit Singh had built with the British in India. In addition, the relationship had been further strained as the Sikhs had not allowed the British to cross their territory during the First Anglo-Afghan War of 1838–42. In response, the British began to build up their forces on the border of Punjab. with many British officials hoping that the Sikhs would overstep their boundaries and the British could legitimately go to war with the last remaining power that threatened their hegemony over India. In Punjab, there was an increasing divide between the royal court and the Khalsa, as the Sikh court was wary of the army's growing power. Certain factions within the Khalsa believed that conflict with the British was inevitable, and they felt that they might have the upper hand due to the British defeat in the Anglo-Afghan War. After the British had installed Shuja with the help of Ranjit Singh, the Afghans revolted and outbreaks occurred throughout the country. Unable to subdue the constant uprisings, the British withdrew from Kabul in 1842. Soon, the Governor-General of India decided to evacuate Afghanistan, and in 1843, the prominent Afghan ruler, Dost Muhammad, returned to power. In 1845, emboldened by the defeat of the British in Afghanistan and encouraged by the Sikh court, which may have wanted to decrease the power of the Khalsa by supporting a risky undertaking, the Sikh Army crossed the Sutlej River into British-occupied territory. The Sikhs likely hoped to catch the British forces off guard. Still, the resulting campaign was mired with rumors of betrayal, particularly from the Khalsa's generals Lal Singh and Tej Singh. Tej Singh led his faction of the Sikh army to the Firozpur cantonment, yet made no attempt to attack the exposed British forces encamped there. Instead of combining forces, Lal Singh led his faction to Mudki, around 18 miles away from Firozpur. Lal Singh's force was the first to meet the British Indian Army, which was led by General Sir Hugh Gough and Viscount Henry Hardinge, who were en route to reinforce the military station at Firozpur. The two armies clashed, and although Lal Singh left the battle early, the Sikh forces refused to yield and fought on. The battle's tide turned when the British cavalry charged the left flank of the Khalsa, and the Sikhs were forced to retreat after suffering heavy losses. Despite the Khalsa's retreat, the battle had been indecisive, and the following day, the Sikh army, again led by Lal Singh, was able to position itself behind strong entrenchments as the British forces continued to advance. Although Gough wanted to attack immediately, Hardinge overruled it and insisted they wait for reinforcements to arrive from Firozpur. After 2 days and heavy British losses, the Sikhs' defenses were captured by the British. Gough then withdrew his troops into the captured entrenchments as Tej Singh's army arrived. As the depleted British forces awaited an attack, Tej Singh unexpectedly withdrew the army. The motives for this withdrawal are still debated today, with some insisting the Sikh general had overestimated the British supplies and strength, and others citing this as evidence of treachery. Although it was never proven, Tej Singh was later accused of betraying his people due to a secret alliance with the British, while Hardinge and Gough, along with their troops, had a lucky escape. While the British recuperated and waited for reinforcements, the Sikhs were troubled by their 2 defeats and grew suspicious of their commander's allegiance. Nevertheless, they soon mobilized new troops and established a bridgehead at Sabran. In conjunction, another Sikh force, led by Ranjit Singh, was dispatched to attack the British fort at Ludhiana, which was essential for the British supply lines. Gough sent a detachment of troops, which, despite harassment from the Sikh irregular army, managed to reach Ludhiana before the Khalsa. The reinforced British troops were then able to win a decisive victory in the battles of Ludhiana and Aliwal. The main Sikh force was now stationed at Sabran, and the British forces combined to attack on February 10, 1846. Although the Sikhs were firmly entrenched and subjected the British troops to intense artillery fire, the British managed to blow a breach in the Sikh fortifications. The Sikh army found themselves caught between the Sutlej River and the British military. They were unable to escape since their pontoon bridge had been destroyed. Those who claimed Tej Singh had allied with the British maintained that the boats had been deliberately cut loose as Tej Singh fled from the battlefield. But others claimed the destruction of the bridges was an attempt to slow Gough's advance on the Sikh capital. The Sikhs fought ferociously in the face of defeat. One man, Lieutenant J.W. Baldwin, recalled, "When some of our men plunged their bayonets into the Sikhs, they held them fast by the sockets with their left hands and cut off our men's heads with their massive tulwars." The British victory at Sabran ended the First Sikh War. The Sikhs were compelled to sign the Treaty of Lahore and surrender large tracts of their land. The British annexed Sikh lands east of the Sutlej. The Sikh army was limited to 20,000 infantry and 12,000 cavalry, and British troops were stationed in Lahore. The East India Trading Company also appointed Colonel Sir Henry Lawrence as a resident to supervise the royal court and the young Maharaja Duleep Singh. Lawrence exiled the Queen Regent, assumed control in all but name, and influenced Sikh policy. Lawrence's presence caused much resentment amongst the Sikh community, and the nobles and generals, called Sirdars, grew increasingly angry that they were having their power restricted by the British. Lawrence insisted on using the Khalsa to maintain order and implement his policies, which stirred up more bitterness within the army, especially among those who felt their commanders had betrayed them during the First Sikh War. Such was the growing resentment of the British that when Lieutenant Patrick Vans Agnew was sent to Multan over a taxation dispute in the spring of 1848, he was killed by an angry mob. Although the Multan governor, Dewan Maharaj Chopra, was unlikely to have orchestrated the killing, he was forced into an open rebellion because of it, and Agnew's decapitated head was sent to the British. This act sparked a widespread uprising and triggered the Second Sikh War. Huge numbers of Sikh soldiers quickly deserted the regiments of the Khalsa that were loyal to the British and joined the Maharaj, along with the rebellious Sirdars. Although the British were low on troops stationed in Punjab, the political officer in Bannu, Lieutenant Herbert Edwards, realized that the longer the rebellion went unchallenged, the more likely it was that it would be successful. He formed a force of Pathan irregulars, allied Sikh troops, and British soldiers and won several victories, including at Kaniri and Sadusam. Toward the end of the summer, knowing no British reinforcements would come until after the monsoon season was over, General William Wish gathered a small British force and marched to Multan. Wish's forces included troops from the Khalsa, led by Sher Singh Atariwala, who were supposedly loyal to the British. However, these forces soon rebelled, broke away from the British Army, and began fortifying the crossings on the Chenab River against the advancing British forces. The rebellion forced the British to raise the siege and wait for reinforcements. In November, more British troops and supplies arrived, and the British once again besieged Multan. The same month, Sikh forces clashed with the British at Ramnagar, which resulted in a British retreat. Although this boosted the morale of the Sikh Army, by January 1849, Multan had been secured by the British. Battles continued to rage into February, when a British victory at Gujarat effectively ended the war. The Sikh Army surrendered in early March, and Punjab was annexed. The British East India Company forced the young Maharaja to sign a treaty and hand over the Kohinoor diamond to Queen Victoria. It remains part of the crown jewels of the United Kingdom to this day. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about the Sikh Wars, check out our book, The Sikh Wars, a captivating guide to the origins, battles, and legacy of the 19th century Anglo-Sikh conflicts. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.